How's everyone doing? It's Thursday and it's office hours and it's Dr. Mondo and oh my god, I almost forgot I don't have my headset on, but I guess that's okay. Hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. Today is office hours, it's Thursday. You know what that means. It means that I'm holding court up here in my office, literally. And I'm here to take any questions that you guys have. This is your opportunity to visit me. And if you're in the Rewriting My Story program, it's your chance to ask any questions that you have that are coming up in your journey. It's a chance for you to basically hit me with any scenarios that you're going through in your life. These can be related to the program. These can be related to your personal life. I am a therapist. I'm at your disposal. And this is a chance for you to ask me some questions, and it's a chance for me to answer some questions from some really brave and courageous people who are offering feedback right now to me in the form of emails, in the form of posts that they're making in some of the private groups. So again, really excited to have a chance to answer those. Richard Hubbard is on. So what's going on, Richard? You are someone that keeps popping up in my world, and you're on my mind. I need to get you in touch with someone named Ashley Cook. She's going to help us get you scheduled to be on this on the Rewriting Your Story broadcast. If you're interested, I'd love to have you as a guest, Richard. So if so, I want Ashley and you to get linked up, and we'll work all of that out, and we'll get you scheduled for a Tuesday night show, because from what I hear, you have an amazing story that needs to be told. So let's definitely get you. So guys, again, I see more people rolling in. Amy and Stephanie, I see you rolling in, and hope you guys are doing well out there in Kansas City and Chicago, respectively. It looks like it's cold back on that part of the country. Out here, it's bright and sunshine, but I don't want to rub it in. But it's nice weather out here today. What I want to talk to you guys today is about, there's this new shirt that we got a chance to debut actually in Chicago. It's a shirt that basically says a series of I am statements. And I'll post a link to the shirt down here. We don't have it available, unfortunately, for purchase. We're working on that. If you've gone to any of my live events where I do speaking or presenting, usually there's a chance where we do a t-shirt giveaway and things like that. But they're limited and they're out there, but people have been really, and hello from Boston too. Actually I'm gonna be out there in Boston in, let's see, like 3 or 4 weeks. So yes, we need to message me what area of Boston you're at. I'm doing speaking events. I'm gonna be doing a speaking event in New Jersey and a speaking event in DC. And we're going to Boston in between there, and actually we're working on getting an event space located. So if you know places that might want to host an event where we do a presentation on the research, where the Rewriting Your Story message, a place where we can give out some of these t-shirts and encourage and motivate people who might feel hopeless about their health and they need some motivation. If you know of any places, let me know, because we would love to go out there and visit. So definitely, message me. And you have a story too that I think needs to be told. There's some really cool people that have been tuning in here that has some amazing stories. So message me too if you're interested in being a guest on our Tuesday night program. We're always looking for people, especially people who've been tuning in like you guys have been to this broadcast, to come in and share your story. I think would be really powerful. Awesome. And Richard says, I've been plant-based for 19 months now, which is amazing. I lost 150 pounds. 150 pounds. Wow. I'm fascinated to hear more about your story. Do you recommend any supplements? Currently, I take B12. I will get back to, I'll tell you guys more about the t-shirt and get back to that. And am I saying this correctly? Nalita, is it Nalita? Lost over 100 pounds. # big change is right. Amazing. Yeah. So you guys, these are 2 people right here that I would love to talk to on my Tuesday night broadcast of Rewrite My Story, where we really get into the untold stories behind the weight loss transformations. So I'll get back to telling you guys a little bit more about today's topic. Unless we get questions flooding in, then I'll take those. But I do want to say to your question, Richard, the B12 supplement is one that often comes up in the plant-based diet and the vegan diet that you definitely have to take. I know for me, my coach Sharon McRae, she may be tuning in here and she'll get more insight for you, but Sharon McRae was encouraging me to take, I believe it's Dr. Furman. I'll double check. Or Dr. McDougall. Dr. Furman or Dr. McDougall, one of the two. And they have a supplement, a daily multivitamin that has B12 in it, and I'd recommend that. They also have a vegan fish oil supplement too, EPH. Again, you could tell I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a therapist, but so that's not my forte per se, but let me relay that information back to you. Again, I believe it's either McDougall or Greger, and they have a supplement, and it's amazing. Or McDougall or Furman, they have a supplement. It's amazing. It's a multivitamin. It has the B12 in it. I know that's a great one to take because it has all the things in it that you might potentially be deficient in. And it also, something that you would add on to that too would be considering taking the healthy fats supplement too. And so you can look into that. That's it, Dr. Furman. That's who it is. Awesome. Alita's saying that she takes that and her husband takes the men's. Yeah, I take the men's. It's awesome. And is it EPH or EPA? I think it's EPA. Again, you can tell this is not my specific forte. Not fish oil. There you go. DHA, APA, Furman. There you go. Kathleen's got it. So yeah, it's not fish oil. The fish get that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the fish get, that. We always think of like that you need healthy fats from getting the fish oils. Well, the fish are getting it from eating the algae. So essentially what you're getting here is you're getting straight from the source. Okay, awesome. So yeah, Justin Lacey tuning in, another guy that we're going to get on this broadcast here pretty quickly, I'm hoping, to tell his story because he's got an amazing story. So everyone tuning in right now, the t-shirt, I want to get back to that. And again, if you have questions, just type them and I'll go back to them. But the t-shirt that we're getting out there, and people, we want, if you're interested in the shirt, write down below what your size is, and I'm going to try to find a way to get them to you, or I'll make them available for purchase. We haven't figured that out, but we're trying to get these shirts out to people. And if you've seen these shirts, it's I'm worthy, I'm lovable, I'm enough, I'm more than the number I'm more than the number on the scale. I'm not defined by the number on the scale. I'm rewriting my story. These are all I am statements that really define what this message is about, that we're trying to promote. And it's a message that I don't think is exclusive just to this Dr. Mondo brand per se. I think there's lots of people that are spreading this message of positivity and through health transformations. But it's one that I really stand by. These I am statements really make up what I stand for. And, I wanted to go through each of those during these office hours, kind of pick one at a time to go through and talk about why I think they're tough and why I think that they're not so easy. It's easy to say, it's different to actually feel it in your bones, to borrow something from Brene Brown, to actually feel it in your bones, to actually feel that you're worthy, not just think it up here, but to feel it. That's that there's something that really a shift has to happen in order for us to get there. Let me see if I can help you guys with understanding that a little bit more. So, what does it mean to be worthy? I think that a lot of us really define our worthiness based on things in society. I think that a lot of us get messaging that says that, we're worthy based on how much money we have in the bank. We're worthy based on how many titles we have in front of our name. We're worthy, we're worthy based on, what we look like in the mirror. We're worthy, based on so many different things. What defines our worth? And if we really take a step back from that, a lot of us are caught in behavior patterns, even with our health, where we feel like in order to be worthy, we have to meet some standard. And a lot of the message of what we have at the Rewrite Your Story program is this belief that you are worthy now. And in order to really follow through on the healthy behavior patterns, you have to first believe that you're worthy now. It's not something that you gain. It's something that you were born being worthy of. And what are you worthy of? Let's expand on that a little bit more. I think that we all have a basic human need to feel a sense of love, feel a sense of security, to feel a sense of belonging. And I really do personally, and so since it's personal to me, it's personal to this program, I believe that we're all worthy of love, security, belonging, and that we, and that we all deserve it just because it is, in a sense, something that, we talk about entitlement. I do believe we're entitled to having a sense of security. I do believe we're entitled to having a sense of belonging and to having a sense of being loved. And often what it takes is us both redefining what the conditions of our worth are defined based on, but it also is made up of our community. We need to be in community with like-minded people that support us, who love us, who give us a sense of belonging, in order to feel like we have our tribe or our crew. And when we have that, it really feeds back into this sense of worthiness. So worthiness, and when we talk about it on the shirt, when we talk about it in the program, it's this belief of wherever you are at right now, you are worthy, regardless of whether or not you're your ideal weight, regardless or not you have all the things that you wanted to achieve, you're worthy today. And there's this belief that if you believe that now, that it's fundamental to your change process to first believe you're worthy and not tie it to some conditions. And it might sound almost semantics, but really it's important to kind of like just understand that again, there's so many people that I encounter in my life, in the work that I do, that say things like, I will be worthy when I lose X amount of pounds, or I will be worthy when I accomplish this health goal, when I run this race, when I complete a Spartan. We have to believe we're worthy right now. Otherwise, what happens is we become addicted to attaching our self-worth to external things or to external validation. Like, I'm only worthy if I get 50 people to tune into my office hours, and if not, I'm not worthy. Or I'm only worthy if that post got 20 likes, and if it didn't, I'm not. It sounds silly to say it out loud, but here's the reality. A lot of us are living by some of these standards of worthiness unconsciously. We're not just saying it out loud to others or to ourselves even. So part of the program and part of the messaging here, if you're tuning in, is that you are worthy right now. And some of us need to hear that we're worthy right now, because that's what we need to kickstart our change process. We need to know that we're worthy right now. Because there's a lot of things in my life, and there's a lot of things maybe in your life too, that you're not fully happy or satisfied with, and that's okay. It's good to be hungry for change. It's good to be hungry to want to continue to evolve. It's good to strive for goals and be driven. But we can't allow our worthiness to be attached to whether or not we've achieved those things. Otherwise, it'll never happen. We'll be too discouraged. We'll be too full of shame. We'll be too full of doubt, and we'll get stuck. And so this first message, and what I want to kick off today's office hours with, is that message that you are worthy right now, regardless of anything else, regardless of where you're at, you are worthy. And how that translates to your health is that you're worthy of health too. You're worthy of making yourself a priority. For some of us, what we realize is that part of the issue and the struggle is that we've never felt worthy enough to make ourselves a priority. Everyone else is a priority before ourselves. Our kids, our family, our friends, our job, the responsibilities, the titles that we hold. We're more responsible to those positions than we are to the position of taking care of ourselves. And the first step in your transformation process is going to be to make yourself a priority. You're worthy of self-care. You're worthy of making yourself a priority. You can't set the time aside to make it to therapy. You can't set aside the time to do my program. You can't set aside the time to make it to the gym or meal prep or whatever it is if you are not believing you're worthy of that. And again, I think what happens is so often life gets busy, and the first thing we cut is time for ourselves. What kind of a message are we sending to ourselves and to others about our self-worth when the first thing we cut is our time to go exercise? Not because we have to lose weight, but because it's good for our mental health, it's good for our physical health. The first thing we cut is time to go in and spend, exercising or doing yoga or going to therapy. Those are always the first things people want to cut, is things for their self-care when the going gets tough. But at the end of the day, what kind of message are you sending to yourself about your self-worth? You have to believe that you're worth it in order to make it a priority. You can have all the tools and resources at your hand. Some people in the Rewrite Your Story program have written me and said, I don't have the time to do the program. And my answer to that is no one does. I didn't have the time to make the program, to be very honest with you. I really didn't. If you had any clue, that program took me over a year to sit down and record all the video lessons, to create all the content. It took me a long time to create that. I didn't have the time for that. But you have to believe that not just what you're doing is important, but that you're important enough to do it. And so you have to make yourself a priority. You have to believe you're worth it, to set aside the time to do the program, to show up for the workouts, to show up to these office hours. And you need to think of them each step of the way as an act of declaring your self-worth. And count those victories more than you count what happens on the scale. Forget about the scale. Did I show up? Was I able to make myself a priority? Did I listen to the indicator lights on my dashboard when I knew I was stressed out, when I knew that if I wasn't careful, I was going to dip into emotional eating if I didn't really do some self-care and some self-restorative work? You have to believe you're worth it in order to do those things. And I can't stress that enough. It's point number 1 on the shirt. And again, if you guys are interested in the shirt, we will make that available here pretty soon. But it's these I am statements, and again, I think it's vital for you guys to get that. I'm going to go back through some of the comments right now. And Richard, thank you so much for that feedback. I hope, guys, is the audio quality any better right now? I left my headphones over there, and I haven't paired them with this new device, so I'm not going to be able to do that, unfortunately. But let me know how we're doing on the video and the audio quality. Stan is tuning in. Gosh, we have some amazing stories. Here's another one. Stan says, down 50 pounds since going plant-based in 2015. Blood work was off the hook. Cholesterol went from 248, 248 to 184. Never before was it below 200. LDL went from 118 to 76. Stan, what an amazing story. Stan, can you share more? I've seen you pop up here too in our community. Share more about how did you get started on this? What led you to this plant-based diet, and how have you managed to stick on? I'm curious to hear more about your story, Stan. That sounds really awesome. Thank you for sharing. Justin says awesome, and he says that he's sharing this to about 13 people in his group. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, man. And again, Justin, can you send me a message, or can we get connected? We need to get you on here. I think Tim Kaufman and I were just talking about you recently. We need to get you on here. So there's 3 people right now that are watching this that need to be on a Facebook live broadcast on Tuesday night. We need to tell your story because we need more people to know about the untold stories that go on behind the transformation. We need to let people know that these transformations are more than just a physical transformation. And so I want to help tell your story on one of our broadcasts we have on Tuesday night. So please message me, send me a private message, and we'll get connected, and we'll make sure that we get going with that. Cool. So again, guys, I'm here for your questions, and be sure to continue. If you guys are in the Rewriting My Story program, currently we have gyms around the country, and thank you, Justin. I'll be looking for your message. We have people around the country that are doing the program right now, and if you're unfamiliar with the program, what is it? It's a program that basically focuses on 2 things. Number 1 is it helps you rewrite your story, and number 2 is it helps you renegotiate your relationship to food. So I want to say this, there are many, many amazing paths to healing. There are many amazing paths to doing the change process that I just mentioned. My brand and my way of doing it is just it might be a good fit for you. It might not be the right fit. But what I believe is that we have to start addressing the psychology behind some of this stuff. You have to start understanding, why you became an emotional eater, or what emotions you were eating for, or what emotions you tend to eat for. You need to have that level of self-awareness to be successful long term. I also believe that your story, if you grew up overweight in a weight-shaming society, some of your story's influence from being overweight in a weight-shaming society. So as a result of that, what you need to really be given some empowerment to do is to take back the pen and rewrite your story. So the program helps you rewrite your story. What is the story that you're stuck telling about yourself? A lot of us don't take time to step back and realize that. But what's the story that we're telling about ourselves over and over and over again? And how does that line up with the story that we want to be telling about ourselves, that we want to be living out? Why combine that with weight loss? Because everyone thinks if they lose weight, that story automatically transforms and changes. If we just lose weight, we're all of a sudden believing that we're worthy. We have more confidence. We have more self-worth. The reality is that it doesn't happen that way. You have to put effort into rewriting that part of your internal story. It doesn't just happen with weight loss. So the program provides a platform for you to do that. What is your story? What would you like it to be on the other side of this? How can we work on empowering you to living in that outcome, living in that story? How can we help you understand what your relationship to food is really about? It's not just that you like cake or that you like pizza. There's more to that. And how can we empower you then to take control of that cycle and now learn new ways to cope with emotion and new ways to advocate for yourself when you're feeling stressed, anxious, you're afraid of being abandoned, you're afraid of being rejected. How can we teach you skills around that? So that's what the program's all about. I'll drop a link in there. It's on my website, drmondo.org. You click on programs. You could sign up at any point and just get started. It's got video lessons, podcasts, journals, and there's 8 stages to doing it. And I'll rattle off the stages real quick, so I'm going to test my memory to remember all of them. The first stage is know your story. The second stage is know your why. The third stage is gain insight and heal. The fourth stage is unique outcomes. The fifth stage is rewrite your story. The sixth stage is renegotiate your relationships. The seventh stage is your support system that speaks the language. People that get it. People that understand what it's like to go through this weight loss transformation. People that understand what it's like to struggle with emotional eating. People who get that stuff. And then stage number 8 is paying it forward. We teach you how to do those 8 things with the video lessons, with the podcast, with the journal entries, with the articles. And by the end of it, you're able to say, this is my emotional eating cycle. And now I'm aware. Like for me, now I'm aware that if you had a cocktail that you were stirring together of anxiety, okay? You throw a little bit of anxiety with a little bit of fear of abandonment. This was like my old cocktail. And you get me like I'm pretty exhausted, like I haven't been sleeping well and I'm really tired. You throw the 3 of those together and you stir them up like a drink and I start sipping on that, watch out. That's when I used to start really thinking about using food for comfort, food to escape those feelings. What I'm now able to do is I'm able to identify when those indicator lights of those feelings are starting to be hit. And I don't see them as being things I need to run from. I see them as feelings that I need to embrace and respond to. And again, let me tie that back to that first I am statement, I am worthy. I believe that I'm worthy of taking care of myself in a different sort of way, separate than just using food. It took me a while, though, to get to that place of rewriting my story. I want to help you guys get to the same place, too. And it's something that I've had to learn in my journey. And it's a journey. It takes time. And, often the journey is a lot more jagged than we like to think it would be. We want to think it's a steady ascension right to where we want to be. But sometimes, it's not the way we think it'll look in the end, but it ends up getting to the same point and destination if we stick with it. So this is the self-awareness and self-knowledge that I want to empower you guys to gain, and that's something you can do through the program. So again, I'm going to go back through some of the questions. There was a question here earlier, and Kathleen said, did you realize your own addictive behavior? That's a really good question. Did you realize your own addictive behavior? Kathleen, I'm going to answer that based on what I think you're asking, and if I don't get it correctly, then type in and help me out here. Did I realize my own addictive behavior? Did I realize that I had a propensity towards addiction? Yes. I realized when I was pretty young that I like to say now my brain likes patterns. So that's still true. My brain likes patterns. I eat the same thing like over and over and over and over. And right now that same thing is healthy plant-based food, but in the past it was not. So my brain, if it has a pleasurable experience, I know all of us are wired this way, but I do think some of us are more wired. My father struggled with addiction. Does that play a role in how my brain is comprised? I tend to think probably so. But But yeah, I realized since I was young that I had somewhat of an addictive personality. Like if I found something I really liked, I was into that, good, bad, or indifferent. And so I knew I had to be careful with those things as I got older. And I still need to today. It's just part of my self-awareness and knowledge. So did I realize my own addictive behavior when it came to food? Yes, but I was rationalizing some of it in some ways. Like, you know, I'd realize it, but I'd hide from it. I'd realize it, but I'd hide from it. And I had to go through stages of realizing that I now had, like, plant-based works for me because the food that I'm eating in a plant-based diet, especially when I avoid oil and salt to a degree as well, I just find that I'm really putting myself in the best position to not crave and be addicted to certain types of foods that would trigger me to go into these obsessive patterns or addictive patterns of eating. And for me, it was binge eating. You know, it was binge eating, it was comfort eating, whatever it was that you want to call it. I would get trapped in cycles of doing that to escape feelings or to minimize feelings or not to feel. And then I would have to, of course, eat for the shame that would come with the binge eating and the emotional eating. So I was in these vicious patterns and cycles. And I'd fluctuate in and out of them because I would get in addictive patterns of working out and eating healthy too. So the key for me has been to just be aware of that, you know, be aware of that consistently. So not just accept it as being an episodic thing, like sometimes I can be addictive, but realize, no, like that's part of who I am, is that I tend to like to get in behavior loops and pattern loops. And now I'm just more intentional about owning that and accepting that and saying I want to be really intentional about choosing where to make those patterns and loops, things that are good and healthy for me, like having patterns each day of meditating. That's a good pattern to have. A pattern of praying and connecting with God. That's a really good pattern to have. A pattern of eating every single night a big kale salad with some beans. That's a really good pattern to have. So, and I feel good when I do those patterns. So I'm trying to take the self-awareness about myself and really own it. And that's something I encourage all of you to do. It came up in Bethany's Facebook Live 2 nights ago on Tuesday night, where we talked about really just cutting the BS and really just being honest with ourselves. You got to be honest with yourself. And if you keep bumping up into the same knowledge over and over and over again, you know, that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get different results. You know, if we keep bumping into the same realization over and over and over again, at some point we just need to accept it. And, you know, there was a long time where I was afraid to say, maybe I do have an addictive personality. Maybe my brain does like patterns. And now I just say, that's the way that God made me. That's the way I'm wired. Why not embrace that, but use it in a positive way? Because some of the things that can be weaknesses are really just strengths gone awry. So if I channel my brain liking patterns for good things, I can be really consistent in doing things that are amazing for my health, for my family, for my community. But on the other hand, I can get stuck in patterns that aren't so good for me, my health, my family, and my community. So I just have to be really intentional about that. And I think it starts with self-awareness. I hope that I answered that question for you there. Ashley Cook, who is running operations, social media. She is a big part of this team. You guys will get a chance to know Ashley more and more. And Ashley says you need a tribe. Man, is that not the case? We need a tribe. You know, I talk so often to that point, Ashley, with young people. It breaks my heart, like when I'm sitting with teenagers or people in their early 20s, and I could just feel the pain that they've been through. There are so many people, and they're not just in their 20s or in their teens, but they get this message that they don't quite fit in. And in a lot of ways, you know, of course, when you're older, you go, man, that's a good thing. You don't even know. You don't want to fit in because being different is good. Being yourself is good. But really what I always tell people is, like, you are like 5 or 6 people away from that feeling disappearing. And it's not that you need people to accept you in order to feel like you're worthy of acceptance, but it's when you have that tribe and that community of like-minded people. Like, there's somewhere right now, there is people that have the same interests that you have. And maybe, you know, when you're growing up and you're in school, you know, a lot of people don't get it. The majority of people don't embrace what you embrace. But when you get a tribe of people that get it and they embrace what you embrace, that's so, you feel so empowered in it. You feel invited to be more of yourself. We need a tribe for that. How is that related to fitness and health? Some of us are trying to be healthy and be fit on our own. And we don't have a tribe around us of like-minded people that want the same health outcomes, are motivated for the long-term why that we're motivated for. We will be more successful in community. So we need to find that tribe. Let's say all the negative things there is to say about social media. It's linked to social media use is correlated positively. Positively is not good in this study, with depression and anxiety. So which means the more you use social media, the more likely you are to be depressed and anxious. We know that, right? But I want to focus for a minute on what social media can be used for if you use it correctly. Use it as a tool to your advantage. Find your tribe. Find your tribe using social media. Justin Lacey said he has a group of 13,000 people. 13,000 people. Those are 13,000 people that maybe not every single one of them he feels like are totally his tribe. Maybe he does. But those are people that he now has a filter for finding people that he can connect with, relate to, who understand the struggle. You know, we talked with Tim Kaufman about that on the Rewriting My Story broadcast 2 weeks ago, about that tribe that he has with a bunch of men around the country who are all motivated to not just lose weight, but to rewrite their stories and become new versions of themselves. And, you know, they talk about the hard topics, things that only they would get. Sometimes only your tribe would understand what you're talking about. Stage number 7 is seek out and form a support system that speaks the language. There are some things, like when I get around certain groups of people, they wouldn't understand me and my friends talking sabermetrics about baseball, right? And a lot of you go, saber what? Yeah, some different interests have their own language to them. And you need a tribe of people to be with you and understand, to make you feel a sense of community. It reinforces your sense of belonging. It reinforces your core belief that you are worthy and that you do belong. So a tribe is so important. Hey, Adam. And again, I keep telling people we got to have different people connect with Ashley. Here's another person, Adam. We have to find a way to get you back on here. We keep saying part 2, man. It is going to happen. So I'm very excited about doing that. Kathleen is saying, I knew I was overweight, but felt safe there. I'm going to stop and just marinate on that for a minute. I knew I was overweight, but I felt safe there. Me too. And I think there's so many of us can relate to that, Kathleen. That is, we could do a whole hour on that. Sometimes, you know, I always say we gravitate towards what's familiar, and what's familiar is what's comfortable. That's not always what's best for us. You know, some people grew up in abusive relationships. Some people grew up in abusive households. And then as a result, that's what feels comfortable and familiar, unfortunately. And the same can be said for being overweight. Sometimes we get used to being that. Our identity forms around being overweight. In my research with The Biggest Loser, I remember one of the contestants saying, you know, I was used to just being the funny fat guy. I wanted to be healthy on one hand. On the other hand, I didn't want to lose my identity as being the funny fat guy. It felt comfortable to be overweight. So yeah, we gravitate towards what's comfortable, even if we know it's not the best outcome for ourselves. Not until Furman's Nutrarian lifestyle did you realize that you wanted to make a change. That's what Kathleen's saying. Looking back, so evident success has been redirecting those nighttime cravings and being stubborn, and being stubbornly eating. It still happens sometimes, no way to stop it at time, but redirection is happening. Redirection is happening. Pattern interruption. Pattern interruption. Our brain likes patterns. We just talked about that. That's something my brain likes. Your brain likes it too, whether you know it or not. Some of us might have brains that like these patterns more than others. But our brain likes patterns. And so I'm a firm believer that if you got in the pattern of feeling anxious, for example, and running right to food to medicate some of those feelings of anxiety, to numb the pain, to not have to face it, to zone out with it, then it makes sense that your brain would almost create and lay down a train track. And the more that you went down that train track, anxiety, food, it gets pretty greased. It's easy to go straight down that every single time you feel it. So what Kathleen's talking about is redirecting those behaviors, interrupting that pattern. And what is she interrupting that pattern with? That's something that she can maybe write down below. But she's identified that nighttime cravings and just stubbornly eating. I like that. Have been things that have continued to come up. So interrupting those patterns have been key to long-term success. That is awesome. Adam Sudd says it's easier and more effective to change our environment than it is to change our behavior. It's easier and more effective to change our environment than it is to change our behavior. Yeah, and sometimes, in essence, what I get from that, Adam, is that's the thing we can control is the environment that we're in, right? Like what is in our environment, and the behavior comes second to that, is what I take from that. Yeah, that's good. When you change your environment, you have the ability to create positive change regardless of your behavior. There it is. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Can resonate to the feeling safe, obese. That's changed by God's grace. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think I can't tell you how many folks have come in and sat on the couch over there and told me, I'm terrified. I'm terrified to lose weight, or I'm losing weight and I'm terrified right now. There's a lot of different trauma that is associated at times with being overweight. So some of us have gone through really traumatic things, and as a result, weight is our safety. There's an article that I wrote on the website. Maybe Ashley can find it if she's still watching and throw it in here. But it's called "My Weight Was My Shield." And I wrote that article because after hearing so many folks and sitting with so many folks and resonating with it myself, of saying, I feel safer, bigger. I don't want to disarm myself. I don't want to take the shield off. It's hard to really negotiate that. And people find a lot of shame when they realize that. How is it that I know I want to be healthy? I know I want to lose weight. I know I want to fit into different clothes. I know I want to feel more confident about my health. But I don't feel comfortable or safe there. That doesn't make sense. That's what we say to ourselves. Well, it does actually make sense. And acceptance is usually a big, big key in starting healing and moving through that. I'd be interested to find out more and more about how you felt, how you were able to get there. And maybe that's something we can talk about in the Facebook Live. Let's see here. So yeah. And hello, Shirley. Thank you for tuning in too. If you got any other questions, Mark Maxwell tuning in saying 88%, and which that is awesome, Mark. So glad to hear that. Mark, of course, is referencing the likelihood that he goes back to his home roots of Sacramento, and that's where I'm from. And Mark is going to be getting ready to, I think, announce on his own Facebook Live that he's moving back to Sacramento at some point. He's 88% of the way there. That's how he's choosing to rewrite his story. And so yeah, that is awesome, Mark. I'm so glad to hear it. I'd love to see you get to the 95 or the 98%. What would it look like for you to take that step? Maybe you could write some of that down below. What would it take for you to get there? Kathleen has been really giving us so much great information here. And what she's been sharing on this broadcast again is how do you realize, or did you realize that you were in addictive behavior? We talked about that a little bit. Then she talked about pattern interruption, or redirecting her behaviors as a way of changing those long-term behaviors around emotional eating, overeating, binge eating. And so what she's saying that lately the redirect is with other delicious food that I now like. Isn't that funny how you could start to develop, your taste buds can reset? Isn't that green bell peppers or a few dates to bypass the sweet need? Green bell peppers for sweets. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. The dates, I'm realizing, dates are like one of the sweetest things you could have. I mean, anyone that's in the plant-based world has figured that out. But if you're not in the plant-based world, go try some dates. They are incredibly satisfying, especially if you have a sweet tooth. So dates, green peppers, a few nuts give comfort, knowing nutrients are being helpful for healing me. Yeah, there was this realization that I keep referencing different content because it just reminds me of different thoughts that I've turned into blog posts or YouTube videos. There's one that says we're addicted to the artificial thing. If you think about it, like anytime that we say to ourselves, like, I have a craving for, then like fill in anything in the blank that is manufactured or processed, whether I have a craving for, a McDonald's hamburger. I have a craving for peanut butter cup. I have a craving for, you really don't have a, like that's just an idea that you have in your mind. If you really want to talk about what we're hardwired for getting like those nutrient needs met by the actual whole foods. But it takes a while to get to a point where our body actually can get reconnected with knowing that. And so you have to go and reset your taste buds. And then, it sounds crazy. Everyone right now that is hearing what Kathleen is saying is like, that's not true. Green bell peppers for a sweet craving, you're crazy. Dates? Oh, that sounds like a fig newt. Like, what are you talking about? I want candy. I want ice cream. Just believe me when I tell you, these are folks that have gone through it. They've been where you've been. I've been there too. I remember like being plant-based for 3 weeks, and I bit into an apple, and I was like, something's wrong with this apple. It's too sweet. They injected it with sugar. That's what I thought. But because my taste buds were exploding, when you reset your taste buds, it's incredible what can happen. And you actually are responding to what your body is craving. There really is a craving that you probably have for fiber. There really is a craving that you actually have maybe for something, sweet, but maybe the sweet thing is fruit. And you've gotten so disconnected from it because you've been feeding it artificial things. In that video, I also talked about sometimes, we feed our artificial needs for connection by thinking we're getting connection through these pseudo forms of connection, like text message or through social media, when in reality, our real need for connection can only be met sometimes by being in person and connecting with people. So even this is a limited form of doing that. Thank you so much, Ashley, for putting that link out there. Ashley was able to find that article, My Weight Was My Shield. So again, go read that article, and there's some statistics in there that will probably blow you away too about why that is for some of us. But it's very common to be comfortable being uncomfortable in an overweight body. And that's why I'm really an advocate for counseling and therapy support, or programs like we have with the online program, because you need support around that transition. Otherwise you think, what's wrong with me? I should like being in this smaller body, when in reality, if that's not familiar to you, it takes a period of adjustment. Mark says he's literally digging into his Instapot potato right now. Mark, how are you doing? Mark just jumped into a 30-day plant-based immersion. We have a private Facebook group if anyone's interested. It's a free little group where we just encourage each other. If you're interested in trying out the plant-based way of eating, you can definitely do so and join the group. Mark just started. He's using his Instant Pot a lot. I tell everyone, if you're going to venture into this world, you need an Instant Pot. That's like thing number one that you have to have. When you get level 2 plant-based, that's when you get the air fryer. Don't worry. We'll talk about it if you're not there yet. Some of you are already there and you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a game changer. Shirley says, I'm having problems with being insulin resistant. Can anyone help out with that? For me, I think that, to be clear, and I really appreciate it, that's out of my scope of practice. My doctor is in psychology, and I can help people more with like the mental side of things, the emotional side of things. Insulin resistance, I would want to refer to either one of my health coaches or Dr. Greger. In fact, here's what I would do if I'm you, Shirley. Nutritionfacts.org is my go-to. It's a great starting point, right? It doesn't replace a doctor, but it leads you to Dr. Greger, who in my mind is just a wealth of resources. Dr. Greger, nutritionfacts.org. And what Dr. Greger has done is he's created this nonprofit website where he literally just sits down and reads studies and then breaks down what the studies are saying. He synthesizes, he does a meta-analysis of all the studies, and he gives it to you in a 2-minute video form and basically says, here's what all the peer-reviewed research says about this particular thing. So if you type in insulin resistance, you will be able to find more information on that. Sherry says, I started the Whole Foods plant-based journey. And Sherry, first time seeing you on here, I think, or maybe you've watched a few broadcasts, but I really appreciate you commenting and thank you for tuning in. And in January of 2017, lost over 50 pounds, still Whole Foods plant-based, but have been overeating on the starches the last few months. I've gained 6, and I think it's stress eating. Any thoughts? Yeah, I do have some thoughts to that. I mean, here's the cool thing about the plant-based stuff is that you don't have to count calories. If it's in that world of plant-based food, you don't need to be overly concerned with how many, starches or how much. But when you start to realize that maybe you're relying on certain things in lieu of your greens or in lieu of your beans, then you do want to take a step back and do an assessment of where am I at emotionally. Like am I running low on feeling a sensation of being restored? Am I feeling stressed out? Am I feeling anxious? Are some of my emotional triggers coming back? If you realize that, and you realize maybe you're gaining some weight and you're relying a lot on starches, then that's a great point to kind of just go back to the basics. If you're a baseball player and you're slumping at the plate, you go back to working on the mechanics of your swing. So you go back to the basics. So the basics in a whole foods plant-based world, and something that I would do, in fact, it's something that I'm going to do tonight, just because, not for any other reason than I just feel like I need it. I intuitively feel like I need it. I'm gonna go back tonight and just have like a gigantic kale salad with beans and some salsa and some veggies, because I feel like my body's craving a little bit of that reset. Now notice I didn't mention starches. A lot of times I'll throw potatoes on there too, but tonight I just feel like my body can skip that. And I feel like tomorrow it might be different. So listen to your body. If you're noticing that maybe you wanna just peel back on the starches a little bit, I would say kick up the beans, kick up the leafy greens. Those are great things. You do need some starch in your diet though, so don't completely cut it out, because it'll only create more of this cycle of eating more and more and more starch because you're hungry. You need some of that. But if I were you, I would kick up the greens, and I would kick up the veggies, and I would kick up the beans. And I also, I would do fruit. For me, always helps reset my body too. Because I feel like it makes me full, and it just helps me stop kind of some of the overeating. So those would be some suggestions that I have. 3 pressure cookers? You got to be kidding me. 3 pressure cookers. And what in the world do you need 3 of them at once? Is that where I'm headed? Am I headed to have 3? Tell me what you do with 3. Do you use them all at once? Because I'm imagining like some amazing sous chef stuff going on. You got like beans going in one, you got a chili going. I don't know. I want to know what you do with the 3, because if that's the case, then I need to get my second one. I only have one right now. If you're interested in joining the plant-based immersion, thank you so much. Ashley just helping out so much with this Facebook Live. You can see why she's my go-to. Thank you so much. End of Diabetes, Dr. Furman. That's a really good resource. Thank you so much, Shirley. Dr. Greger. Dr. Neil Barnard has great info on insulin resistance and diabetes as well. Awesome. See, there you go. Thank you, Justin. So there's another place for you to check out, Shirley. Check out Dr. Neil Barnard, and he has great info on insulin resistance, and that's stuff that you're gonna want to check out. So, guys, I know if I do a quick, oh my God, I don't know how we just hit 50 minutes. This is what I do a session in. 50 minutes are my sessions, and I've already done, I've done about 20 sessions this week, and I had a trip to LA squeezed in there for a day, which was a lot of fun. Got to go down and hang out with my best friend down there, Jimmy Spencer, and spend some time with him, and check out what he's up to at work. He works for a really cool company, a media company called Uninterrupted. Got a chance to spend some time with him and a lot of other people that are doing amazing stuff down there. Got a chance to hang out with some of the first people to invest in the company Beyond Meat and hear what they're up to get more of the plant-based message out there. So just was a lot of cool stuff there. I got to do a great Facebook Live, but it's been a long, long week. It's surprising to me that this 50 minutes happened and that it flew by, because I'm not going to lie, I was feeling a little bit tired when this 50 minutes started, but now I'm feeling energized. I feel like I could do another 50 minutes because I love this stuff. And you guys, the thing is that when I get a chance to answer some of these questions, you guys give so much to me, because it gets me excited. Like tonight, I'm excited to go home and eat that kale salad. And just answering your questions helps kind of recenter me. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this world and my tribe. And I'm really happy just to have you guys joining in. If you think that any of these resources can be helpful, go ahead and share this office hours, or share one of your favorite episodes of Rewriting my story. They've been doing really well lately in views, and that's because you guys are sharing them, and I really appreciate that so much. If you think that you're ready to make a change right now, again, there's so many amazing programs out there. I'm not going to tell you you have to pick my program because there's so many amazing ones, but I do think my program is unique in its own way, just like every program is unique in its own way. And you can go to drmondo.org and you can click on programs. You can learn more about the Rewriting My Story program. You could start the video lessons today. You could start them as soon as we hang up here on this Facebook Live. So I encourage you to do so. If you're thinking about doing a plant-based immersion, we have resources for that too. All of that is stuff that we give you for free because we want to help you guys out. And anyway, yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend. Not the size of the step, it's the direction that counts. Michael White, my favorite therapist, said that, and he wise beyond his years. Rest in peace, Michael White, but your truth still resonates, and for some of us right now, we need to know that. We need to hear that. Some of us are saying that, you know, our story's been written, there's no point changing. I heard from someone today saying, I don't even feel like I have any business losing weight, I'm sick of it. I don't want to have to go through the shame and in the process again, it's so much. It's not the size of the step, it's the direction that counts. What is one thing you can do today to take a step in the direction of declaring your self-worth, of declaring that you're worth it, of declaring that your health matters, of taking back your health, of taking back control of your life? What's one step? Don't think you have to change everything overnight. What's one step that you can take? And I empower you to take it. And thank you guys again, just so much for tuning in here tonight. We do office hours every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we will do them again next week, and we will have an amazing Facebook Live coming up this Tuesday. We have a woman who's coming on to share her story. I haven't announced who she even is yet. I'm just going to tell you this. She's got 60,000 people in her tribe. 60,000 people in her tribe. And she literally started her tribe with one follower, and it was on Instagram, and she just said, I need to lose weight, I need to get healthy, I need to take back control of my life. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she just started posting her food, and she started posting her transformation pictures, and that was it. And 60,000 people joined her journey, and you'll hear more about her story on Tuesday night. She has never even told her story in any video format. We are so beyond honored to have a chance to hear from her. And there's so many people out there that need to hear her story because so many of you are sitting in her shoes at the beginning of the journey and you're looking for motivation or inspiration. And let her be that for you. That's this coming Tuesday night. Tune in. We'll see you guys then. Have a great night.